Tears of the Kingdom is already running pretty well on the Steam Deck. That's according to some users that have tried it on the Steam Deck ahead of release. In fact, modders have already developed fixes to get the game working on Yuzu, as well as a 30 FPS and 60 FPS mod. So today we're going to talk about that progress and the fact that Nintendo has already lost this arms race despite the fact that they continue to fight and are quite frankly hitting below the belt. Even outside of that, this has been a pretty awesome week for deck news. I have more previews of upcoming features for the Steam Deck. I talk about Valve's latest big update, not to mention a little bit of what to expect this Thursday from the ROG Ally event. I can't wait to tell you about it, so let's get into it. What's good, Deck Gang? Let's kick off the deck news segment with another humble bundle. This is the Easygoing Games bundle. It's $12 for 12 games, and it's a showcase of one particular indie developer, Whitethorn Games. They focus on more easygoing and bite-sized games, but the thing that impressed me is how much care they've put towards Steam Deck compatibility so far. For example, even their beekeeping management sandbox game, Apico, is not only verified, but they even have a note that they dropped prior to the release of the game that they would be supporting it on deck. By the way, 9 of these 12 games get over 90% positive reception, and 2 more get 85% positive reception. The final remaining game doesn't even have enough reviews yet, but it does look quite good as well. I don't have standout recommendations since I actually had not played these games, but I did have Lake, Apico, and Witchwood in my wish list, so I just picked it up myself. You can pick it up too using my link in the description. That's an affiliate link if you want to support the channel, but you can always adjust where you want the money to go because Humble is awesome. By the way, this is usually the point where I give away a few keys. I don't have any keys from this bundle since I redeemed all of them here, but here are some other keys I do have. Enjoy. Make sure to hit the like and comment if you do enjoy these giveaways. I may throw a key or two in the comments as well. Hey, speaking of liking and subscribing, did you know I'm a regular cast member on the Nerd Nest podcast? There's 5 of us. Bill from Nerd Nest, of course, The Fox, aka Carrie, Russ from Retro Game Core, and Kyle, but you may know him as CryoBite33, and of course, yours truly. That podcast is a lot of fun to do, and it's been getting better every single week. Check us out tomorrow using the link in the description. All right, in my last news roundup, I talked about 2 big updates, and I have a big update on both of those subjects. First, I mentioned the updates to the Steam overlay and desktop mode. I speculated that some of these features, like the notes functionality, would likely be coming to the Steam Deck, and Lawrence Yang has actually now confirmed this to be true. Sean Hollister from The Verge asked Lawrence if these features will be coming to the Deck's gaming mode, and Lawrence confirmed that they will in fact be coming over. No timeline for those yet, but I suspect they'll be part of SteamOS 3.5. And that brings me to the second big update from last week's video. I also discussed the soundtrack player that Reddit user Piccoloid found, and Piccoloid was kind enough to jump into Fan2Deck Discord server and share with me their latest Reddit post on the subject. Here, Piccoloid is showing off the soundtrack player fully working in the beta channel of SteamOS. Once you're on the beta channel, you'll see a new music icon in the quick access menu, and you'll be able to navigate your library of soundtracks. It's looking pretty good, and I think it might actually encourage me to pick up some more soundtracks. It should also be noted that this does not play well with Decky Loader, but honestly, Decky Loader and the beta channel just don't play very well with each other in general. In any case, super shout out to Piccoloid for sharing this, especially considering they recorded this footage using a glass table so that they can rest the phone on the table while using the Steam Deck under the table. Galaxy brain move. Overall, Valve has been extremely busy. They have this yearly vacation in Hawaii around the March-April timeframe, and it appears they really came back from their vacation refreshed and ready to work. Let me tell you about another big update they recently launched. This time, it's the Steam Store Search. This refresh to the store search functionality is somewhat overdue, and it fixes all of the complaints I've had in the last few years. It now allows you to search tags, categories, developers, publishers, and franchises. Go ahead and type in Final Fantasy and click the Final Fantasy series at the bottom with 27 games to see all the Final Fantasy games that are on Steam. Additionally, it's more forgiving of typos, so even if you're slightly off, you should be able to find what you're looking for. This update comes alongside a visual update where a maximum of 2 trailers will be shown on the store page before screenshots, with the remainder of the movies showing up at the end. This is a solid quality of life update, and it allows you to get to the screenshots right after the most relevant trailers. Next up is something I missed, and I'm not sure how I missed this one. Dbrand is a partner of the channel, and I've been waiting for news on what's next for the kill switch. Well, 2 whole months ago, Dbrand shared 3D printing files for their upcoming universal mount. This is something they're actually going to be selling separately, so it's kind of badass of Dbrand to also share the 3D printable version on Reddit. Anyway, you can attach this to the back of your Steam Deck if you have a kill switch case, and this universal mount allows you to attach a portable battery or hard drive. The 4-notch system means you can attach horizontally or vertically, but do note that according to Dbrand, the commercialized version of this will include Velcro straps that feature a series of rubber pads on the interior to prevent any slippage. This allows you to attach securely using a strap on only one axis. For the 3D printable version, the recommendation would be to either use straps on both axes or go with the VHB tape. End quote. This is a nice addition to the Steam Deck Dbrand ecosystem, and this is not an ad, but if you're interested in the kill switch case or anything from Dbrand really, be sure to use my link, dbrand.com/fantodeck. I don't get a kickback from that, but it does let them know that I sent you. Alright, as far as games go, there is one big update to share here. A few places have noted that Dead by Daylight is now working on Steam Deck again. Dead by Daylight is a game that has been on and off with Steam Deck compatibility, but it seems like this time the relationship is official. Steam Deck HQ is reporting that they, quote, received email confirmation from PR rep from Behavior Interactive that this support is intentional, with their goal to allow Steam Deck users to be able to access the game. This means that future updates should not purposefully stop the game from working, and we officially have deck support, end quote. That's great news. Shout out to SDHQ for reporting this, and thank you Behavior Interactive for finally getting this game compatible. And here are a couple quick hits for you. Steam Deck surpassed 9,000 verified or playable games, which is an impressive milestone to be sure. There are another 2,700 games rated as unsupported, so that's nearly 12,000 games rated in all. Valve also updated the Steam hardware survey with April's results. Steam Deck continues to show consistent growth, but I did want to point out this statistic that was posted on Reddit by user Reluctant Anarchist. It looks like every 5th Linux gamer now plays on Steam Deck. That is some serious growth. And then Valve also released their top 20 Steam Deck games in April. There's not a ton that's surprising here. It's good to see Dredge, but more importantly, it's just always fun to see the variety. This list is almost evenly split between AAA bangers and indie darlings. You just love to see it. Alright, we only have a few days left until we learn more about the ROG Ally. I'll be watching all the updates live this Thursday. In the meantime, a few creators have shared their impressions of the 7840 handhelds like the Aoki Zoe A1 Pro and the refresh for the GPD WinMax 2. The previews for these handhelds give some reason to be optimistic about the Ally, but in particular, the Fox gave his analysis to an article by Tom's Hardware, and it's starting to seem like AMD is in fact putting an emphasis on battery life and getting the most power possible in low wattage scenarios. Up until now, this has been one of the unique strengths of the Steam Deck compared to 6800U handhelds. Sure, the 6800U could push further than the Steam Deck, but between 12 and 15 watts, the performance between the two is pretty comparable, and the Steam Deck is actually the clear winner below 12 watts. This makes the Steam Deck better if you're concerned about battery life, which in a handheld, of course you are. To that end, here's what AMD's PR manager had to say about the Z1 and handheld gaming. Quote, the Ryzen Z1 series are purpose-built with handheld gaming in mind. To accomplish this, AMD engineers had to validate entirely new power ranges and optimize the voltage curves specifically for this use case. This optimization and validation work should not be trivialized. So while the technology building blocks are similar between 7040 and Z1 series, the resulting models have very distinct characteristics customized for their use cases, end quote. So according to this, even though the Z1 series chips are based on the 7040 chips, the difference between the two is that the Z1 series chips were built for handheld gaming, meaning they're more effective at lower wattages thanks to some optimized voltage curves. How much of that is just PR and marketing, I don't know, but I'm looking forward to finding out. One more thing before we get to the main story of today, you know I love a chance to spotlight something from the Steam Deck community, whether it's a video, accessory, or some new software. Today, I'm going to recommend this boot video that was shared on Reddit, and it should be available on SteamDeckRepo.com. It's a Breath of the Wild Sheikah Slate boot video, so get it before Nintendo tries to have it taken down. And that brings us to the main story for today. But first, let me tell you about today's sponsor, AnyDesk. I have a little secret. I almost never use the Steam Deck desktop mode without AnyDesk. Even after configuring the desktop controls exactly how I want, I just find it faster to navigate the desktop using a mouse or keyboard or using my phone, and AnyDesk lets me do that super simply. And it's not just for Steam Deck either. AnyDesk is a remote desktop application that works for Windows, Mac, Linux, iOS, Android, Chrome OS, and even Raspberry Pi, so you can effortlessly connect to any device regardless of the operating system and enjoy unbeatable low latency. All of the features also have an easy to use interface, so even file transfers between systems are a breeze. So if you want to grab your Decky recorder clips from your Steam Deck, this is literally all you have to do. In addition to that, they offer enterprise features such as SSO, a customizable client, and a suite of collaboration tools. So experience seamless and top-notch remote access with AnyDesk, the ultimate solution to access any device from anywhere. Don't miss out on this exceptional opportunity to try AnyDesk today by clicking the link below. So as you all probably know by now, Tears of the Kingdom has leaked to the internet as of early last week. It has since proliferated, and some people have been emulating this game. I got word from a number of people that tried this on deck early on that the game would not boot in Yuzu and Ryujinx wasn't quite performant enough to handle it, and then I was made aware that Yuzu devs would likely not do a big update prior to May 12th due to their hard stance against piracy. So it seemed that if you wanted to emulate Tears on the Steam Deck, then you would have to deal with sub 20 frame rates when you're outdoors. Well, that story quickly developed because since then, some modders created a TOTK Yuzu fix and we're already up to V3 on that mod. This is a mod that allows Tears of the Kingdom to not only boot up in Yuzu, but also fixes some graphical glitches as well as save game glitches. Likewise, there are also 30 FPS and 60 FPS patches that make sure the game's timing is adjusted to those targets. So according to everyone I've spoken to, this is the best way to play Tears of the Kingdom on Steam Deck. It's to use the EA build of Yuzu version 3549 and above, and to install the TOTK Yuzu fix as well as the 30 FPS mod. As a reminder, you can download early access builds of Yuzu at pineapplea.github.io. Just pick a version and download the app image. Then take the resulting file, rename it to yuzu.appimage. If you used AnyDesk to install Yuzu, then you can replace the existing yuzu.appimage that lives in the /home/applications folder. And if you want to install mods like the TOTK Yuzu fix or 30 FPS mod, then you can find the correct folder by opening Yuzu, right-clicking your game, and clicking Open Mod Data Location. Then just paste your mod folders in the resulting directory. In any case, like I said, it seems like people are able to play this game now and get 30 FPS indoors and mid to high 20s outdoors. There is still shader stutter, some graphical glitches, and the occasional crashes, but that still seems quite good considering the game hasn't even been released yet. Likewise, if you have a handheld with a 6800U, you are in even better shape as you may be able to get a solid 30 in most areas. And perhaps this is why we've seen so much of Nintendo's Scorn in the last week. I've said before that Nintendo hates the Steam Deck, and it seems that people have taken that to mean that I think the Steam Deck is a threat to the Switch's market share, even though I would never say that. I would never dream of the Steam Deck touching anywhere near 100 million units. That number is just asinine. But when I say Nintendo hates the Steam Deck, I say that because Nintendo has taken their already aggressive tactics to the next level ever since the Steam Deck was released. And this week, they've tripled down on those efforts. I can't speak to Nintendo's reasoning on why they've done this, but the impression they're giving off to me is that they think the Steam Deck being able to play Switch games undermines the Switch's hardware itself. This subject is complicated and a bit of a minefield, but I think Nintendo have made it clear that their concern is not simply piracy, and they made that even more clear with their latest action where they issued a DMCA takedown request against Lockpick, the tool for dumping keys from your own Switch, as Simon Aarons first reported on Twitter. Dumping your own keys has thus far been legal, and it's not needed at all to pirate Switch games. It is, however, needed to emulate Switch games in a legal manner. If I want to be on the up and up when it comes to emulating Switch games on PC, I need to dump my keys, and Lockpick was the way to do this. So no, this is not about piracy, and this really isn't about Tears of the Kingdom. Certainly the leak of Tears has caused Nintendo to get more aggressive, but this action can't put the genie back in the bottle, and it does basically nothing to stop the proliferation of Tears over the remaining 5 days until launch. No, the only thing this serves to do is to criminalize actions that were previously legal, and we've seen what Nintendo does with people they consider to be criminals, as they managed to convince the legal system that Gary Bowser deserved 40 months in prison and a $14.5 million fine for his role in the hacking group Team Executor. Criminalizing what was once legal has downstream effects, which is exactly why the developers behind Skyline announced that they were completely ceasing development of their Android-based Switch emulator. Russ from Retro Game Corps posted this message that was shared on the Skyline Discord. Here's what they say. Quote, "It is with great sadness that we bring you this news. Recently, Nintendo has issued a DMCA takedown notice against Lockpick RCM, which will likely come into effect on Monday. Lockpick is a core part of legally dumping keys from the Switch. Nintendo claims that it circumvents their copy protections and therefore violates their copyright. We find ourselves in a position where we are potentially violating their copyright by continuing to develop our project Skyline by dumping keys from our own Switches. After much internal discussion, we have made the difficult decision to immediately cease all further development on Skyline. We understand that this is not the news our community wanted to hear, and we are heartbroken to have to deliver it." End quote. This is honestly heartbreaking, and it's exactly what Nintendo was aiming for. As far as I can tell, Nintendo's not looking to end piracy, they're looking to kill emulation, and yeah, maybe they'd be doing this even if the Steam Deck wasn't a thing, but Lockpick has existed since 2019, and Nintendo has never did anything about it until now. If anything, Nintendo is proving Gabe right. It looks like piracy is in fact a service problem. Given all of this, I want to revisit the Kotaku situation. A lot of people gave Kotaku shit for their coverage of Tears, where they essentially did a preview based on what people learned from pirating Tears. And the truth is that yes, that sounds like a petty and retaliatory action, but I don't think people are giving full credit to what actually happened. It wasn't simply that Kotaku wasn't invited to a PR event put on by Nintendo. In fact, the editor-in-chief, Patricia Hernandez, said this, quote, "Let's get this straight. The Nintendo thing was not over any of the talking points that keep getting repeated and assumed. It was that I did not let them line edit an article after sitting down with them, hearing them out, and making good faith changes." End quote. That's important. I don't think we should expect for a journalistic outlet to allow the publisher to provide line edits on an article. But there's more. She goes on to say, quote, "It's bizarre that reporting the news is being read as retaliatory versus literally par for the course. When GTA 6 leaked, there was an entire news cycle around it and its contents. One example out of many. Likely reason that you're not seeing that now? Your fave pub signed an NDA." End quote. Okay, in case you didn't catch that, what Patricia said in that tweet is that the reason you don't see a bunch of news outlets reporting on the leak of Tears the way we saw with the leak of GTA 6 is literally because they signed an NDA with Nintendo, which Kotaku refused to do. To that end, I don't think Kotaku was in the wrong, and I don't think the backlash was warranted. What do you think? Alright, with that out of the way, I should probably tell you about some new releases because I've seen a couple really good games go under the radar, so check it out. First of all, Darkest Dungeon 2 is out today, and I'm pretty excited about that one. There's a limited time discount on this for people that already own the original. This is a full 1.0 release, but of course the dev team are providing ongoing support and additional content, not to mention modding tools that are going to come afterwards. This looks like it's shaping up to be a sick release. Arto is a game I wish I could recommend, but the performance is pretty rough on Steam Deck. It's a gorgeous action game where the goal is to restore color in the world. The combat is kind of simplistic, but it's still really engaging. The problem is that even with quality set to medium and the resolution set to 960 by 600, it still struggled to even hold 25 FPS in the middle of fights, and I just can't recommend that. I'll keep an eye out for performance patches, but yeah, unfortunately this just doesn't play very well on deck. Killbug, on the other hand, gets a super high recommendation from me. I'm not alone either. There are 81 reviews so far, and all of them are positive. Killbug has a PS1 low poly look to it, and it comes with the maneuverability of a modern boomer shooter. There are a ton of movement mechanics to master as you go from double jumps and wall runs to melee dash and gun hovering. It's got that one more go thing going for it, just like its genre predecessors like Double Daggers and Hyper Demon. Make sure to tune to your preferred shooter controls. I like a good flick stick, and that worked for me here. Finally, Desta is a sports tactics game from the developers of Monument Valley. For some reason, I've always been fascinated with turn-based sports games. I feel like it has something to do with Blitzball in Final Fantasy X. This one in particular is based on dodgeball, but there's a focus on physics with things like trick shots. And just like other tactics games, there's a major puzzle element to this, which fits right into the wheelhouse for these developers. So too does the art style, which is minimalist both in color palette and geometric complexity. Overall, it's a perfect fit for the Steam Deck and other handhelds. All right, gang, I covered a lot in this video, from desktop updates coming to Steam and the D-Brand Universal Mount, but also I covered Tears of the Kingdom, how it performs on deck, as well as, you know, Nintendo's kind of retaliatory actions. Definitely let me know what you think in the comments. Overall, this has been pretty discouraging. A lot of people are excited that Tears of the Kingdom leaked, but I would give back that leak all the way, right, if it meant that Nintendo would stop fighting against emulation. That said, I don't think that's what would happen, so I guess this is just the situation we're in. Yeah, again, let me know what you think, and don't forget to check out the Nerd Nest podcast. Deck Gang out. Goodbye.